Welcome to part 2 of our beginner series about real estate. Today we're going to be talking about loans. And you're like, well, why are we talking about loans? Because a lot of people borrow money when they're buying real estate. It's a pretty common occurrence. So we're going to talk about the things that are going to come up if you are working with a lender to buy real estate or to refinance real estate that you already own. So there are going to be 4 things that we're going to be talking about today. We're going to talk about a note. We're going to talk about a deed of trust. We're going to talk about security interest, and we're going to talk about foreclosure. All of these are going to be pretty surface level, and we'll go into more detail in other videos, but this is just a primer on those 4 things. So let's talk about what is a note. When you go to your lender to borrow money, let's just, for the sake of being easy, let's say you're going to go borrow $500,000. Not in California, but let's say you're going to borrow $500,000. The lender is going to have you sign something called a promissory note. This is your promise to pay. It's going to outline the terms of your loan. So how much you're borrowing, when are you borrowing it, what's your interest rate, when does your loan term out, like how long is your loan and when does it mature, what your principal and interest payments are and when are they due. There's also going to be some covenants. Covenants is a fancy word for rules about what you as the borrower have to do. You really only have 2 rules in this note. You pay, and you don't bury toxic waste in the backyard. That's really what they want to make sure that you're doing. You pay your mortgage, meaning your principal and your interest, you pay your property taxes, and you pay your homeowner's insurance, and then you don't bury toxic shit in the backyard. If you pay, you stay. Pay, you stay, you don't, you won't. That's like my favorite way to describe what a loan for property is. Pay, you stay, you don't, you won't. Okay, so you signed the note. That's great. Now the lender says, and in addition to this, inside the note, it says that I am also using this piece of real estate as collateral to get to, so that the lender will give me this money, because there's enough equity in this property that if I were to not pay my loan, they're going to be able to get their money back because they can sell the house and make it back. Okay. So how does the lender protect their interest in the property? Well, they record something in California called a deed of trust. The deed of trust lets everybody know that they have an interest in your real estate. And there are some things that we'll talk about in another video about priority and why it's important to reflect the loan that this lender just gave on land records. So what it does, it says that, hi, I'm the lender. I lent this much money to this person and I'm using this house as collateral to secure the loan. So that if you want to give them money, you know that they already owe me $500,000. So if you want to go give them some more money, that's on you. The other thing that it does is that it sets priority, and we'll talk about that in another video because that's a whole other thing. But that security and that deed of trust is called a security instrument. Or it secures their security interest in the property. What is that? Well, that just lets everybody know that I can look to this piece of real estate to satisfy this loan in the event of a default. So that's what establishes the lender's security interest in the property. The 4th thing we talk about is foreclosure, because all 3 of those things are all related to foreclosure. And we'll talk about foreclosure in even more depth later on. But foreclosure is, earlier I said, if you pay, you stay, you don't, you won't. If you don't pay, your lender will foreclose on the property. There are a lot of things that they have to do in order to actually get to that process. There's notice requirements, there's filing requirements, there's all sorts of stuff that they have to do in order to comply with California law. But the foreclosure process is related to all of those things because, like I said, if you don't pay your mortgage, the lender can then turn around and force a sale of the property to satisfy the debt that you didn't pay. So those are your 4 basic terms for today. We've got a note, which is the piece of paper that you sign with your lender that says, I promise to pay you $500,000. The deed of trust, which is what your lender will record on land records to say, I have an interest in this real estate because I just lent this person $500,000. The security interest are those 2 things put together. The security interest is what your lender has in the real estate that you own. And then foreclosure is related to if you default on that note, if you stop paying for whatever reason. Foreclosure is the process that your lender will use to take that asset back from you. So stay tuned. We've got more. And if there's anything that you want to hear about, or if you want more information on, get in the comments. Let us know, and I'll do reply videos. And I want to build out a whole library where we have access to